Hi there. I hope you're very well. If you came here today to talk about the separation of variables technique for finding general solutions to differential equations, I have good news for you. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Okay, why don't we go ahead and talk about the general steps of this very wonderful strategy. The first step is always to bring all of your y terms to one side. That includes dy. And you can put everything else on the other side of the equals. They get along pretty well. Step 2 is to integrate both sides with respect to whichever variable is on that side. Essentially, all you're doing here is taking the antiderivative, and you know how to do that so well by now. So here's a tip for all the clever people out there who remember that when you take an antiderivative, you need to make sure that you include a plus c. At the end of the day, we're going to be solving for y, which means that on whichever side you have your y antiderivative, whatever plus c is going to be over there is going to have to move over eventually anyway. A constant and a constant together, those still make another constant, so when I tell you that you only need plus c on one side of the equation, you can rest assured, you only need it on one side of the equation. And then the last step is to just solve for y. Easy algebra, nothing you haven't done a million times before. So altogether, these steps, not too bad. Now, if you've been sitting here wondering, what's a general solution? Well, a general solution to a differential equation is essentially the plus c antiderivative of a function. So regardless of how many variables you have, all you're trying to do is just take the antiderivative of the function that you're starting with. So with that, why don't we go ahead and see what it looks like to find a general solution out in the wild, so to speak. Our first example asks us to find the general solution to the differential equation dy over dx is equal to x squared y cubed. Now to do this, we're just going to follow the steps that we had above. Nothing more, nothing less. Our first step tells us we need to get all the y's on one side and everything else on the other side. So I need my y cubed on the left and I need my dx on the right. We'll start this process by multiplying both sides by dx, you guessed it. And then if we're trying to be efficient, we might want to try and take care of that y cubed at the same time. Since it's being multiplied, we're going to divide it to move it to the other side. So let's divide both sides by y cubed. And so when we do this multiplication, we cancel out our dx's, and the division crosses out our y cubes. Taken together, these changes will give us 1 over y to the third dy. And on the right-hand side of the equation, we have x squared dx. Since I'm trying to take an antiderivative, I probably want to rewrite 1 over y to the third. I'm going to do that by writing it as y to the negative third dy. That'll make my integration easier. My right-hand side, I don't need to do anything. It's easy just the way it is. Now we're going to set up our integrals. So we have integral y to the negative 3 dy equals the integral of x squared dx. Now let's show those calculus people what we're made of by taking the antiderivative. The antiderivative of y to the negative 3 is negative 1/2 y to the negative 2. And we'll set that equal to the antiderivative of x squared, which is 1/3 x to the third plus c. Remember, we only need plus c on one side here. The last step is to get y by itself, so we need to first move that negative 1/2 away. And we'll do that by multiplying both sides by its reciprocal, negative 2. This, of course, cancels out the negative 2 and the negative 1/2, and that's going to leave us with y to the negative 2 equals negative 2/3 x cubed, and then a constant times any number is, well, that's still just a constant, so we'll leave it as plus c. Now one way, and probably the easiest way to get rid of the exponent for y here, is to raise both sides to the reciprocal power. So we're going to raise both sides to the negative 1/2, and that'll take care of that negative 2 real nice like. There it is. See you later, negative 2. That leaves us with y equals negative 2/3 x cubed plus c, quantity to the negative 1/2. Now hopefully you agree that having a negative exponent is not so great, so why don't we rewrite this to not just not have a negative exponent, but to not have an exponent at all. That negative 1/2 is the same as telling us to flip it over and take the square root. So y is equal to 1 over the square root of negative 2/3 x cubed plus c. How about that? Lots of algebra, right? Well, that's okay, because we're really good at that. Why don't we take a look at a different example here? This time we want the general solution to the differential equation dy over dx is equal to y minus xy. Now maybe it looks a little bit different this time, but the steps to get our general solution are exactly the same. If we look closely at the right-hand side, we'll see that both of our terms have a y in common, y and negative xy. Now we might want to try and bring both of our terms to the left side, but how about we try something a little bit more productive instead? We can factor that y out on the right-hand side. Look how nice that is. So now we proceed. Of course, we can still multiply both sides by dx. That's not going to be a problem. Dx there and a dx there. That's nice and easy. To get rid of our y here, again, that's multiplication, so we'll divide both sides by y. And so our y's cross out, our dx is cross out, and our next step is going to look like 1 over y times dy equals the quantity of 1 minus x dx. So while our y's are on one side, you remember what to do now? Of course, we are going to take our antiderivative, take the integral of both sides. So the integral of 1 over y dy equals the integral of 1 minus x dx. And what is that antiderivative? Well, the antiderivative of 1 over y is the natural log of the absolute value of y. The antiderivative of 1 is x. And negative x has antiderivative, negative 1/2 x squared, and of course we need plus c. Let's go ahead and rearrange our right-hand side so that it's in descending order. In other words, the highest power of x comes first. So we get the natural log of the absolute value of y, and that equals negative 1/2 x squared plus x plus c. Then there's the curious case of this natural log. How do we get rid of that? Well, algebraically, we can translate it into the exponential statement. So that means y equals e to the negative 1/2 x squared plus x plus c. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a pretty nice answer for us for the most part. Why do I say for the most part? Well, that plus c at the end of the exponent there can be broken off into its own exponential statement. We would have y equals e to the negative 1/2 x squared plus x times e to the c. E to the c itself would be another constant, and so we might want to rewrite our answer as y equals big C times e to the negative 1/2 x squared plus x. But that's neither here nor there for now. This is a perfectly good answer, and if you can get to it, good for you. Let's look at our last example. Our last problem asks us to find the general solution to the differential equation dy over dx equals negative cosecant y cosine of x. I don't think this requires much of an introduction. Let's start the same way we usually do by multiplying both sides by the tried and true dx, right? One on both sides. There we go. And we want to get the y term out of there as well, so we're going to divide both sides by negative cosecant of y. If we wanted to, we could have left that negative with the cosine, but this is going to make our integration a little bit easier in the next couple of steps. Of course, we cross these out on both sides, and our next step is going to look like this. Negative 1 over cosecant of y dy equals cosine of x dx. Hopefully you're looking at this negative 1 over cosecant of y and scratching your head a little bit. And that's because negative 1 over the cosecant of y is the same as saying negative sine of y, because they're reciprocals of each other. And frankly, that's much easier to work with than what we had before, right? Now we can go ahead and take our integrals, take the antiderivative of both sides, so integral of negative sine y dy equals integral cosine of x dx. As we're preparing to do our antiderivatives, hopefully you see why giving the negative to the y term was the better idea for us here, because the antiderivative of negative sine is cosine of y, and that's going to equal sine of x plus c. So we got to get rid of cosine here. We do that by taking the arc cos or inverse cosine of both sides. That's going to give us, at the end of the day, y equals arc cos of sine. Need a little bit of room here, nothing wrong with that. Sine of x plus c. There we go. And that's our final answer. Okay, so the algebra may be a little bit trying sometimes, but if you stick to the steps from the first page, you're never going to have too much of a difficult time with these. Just get your y's on one side, and then get everything else on the other side, integrate everything, and then solve for y at the end of the day. Stick to the steps. And hey, if you're ever in doubt, just trust your gut. It'll probably get you somewhere that's worthwhile. If nothing else, I believe in you. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.